Welcome to Formosa Dream Chasers.
We're your hosts, Mary Ann
and Qing-en.
Please join us as we explore the journeys amazing people take in pursuit of their dreams.
And get insights from their experiences.
Let's hit the road.
And get started. Thanks for tuning in. Today we are diving into the fascinating world of music. Our guest, Han-wei, is a young Taiwanese composer, arranger, and clarinet musician based in Taipei.
Having collaborated with the National Taiwan Symphony Orchestra and the Taipei Philharmonic Orchestra, Han-wei now dedicates most of his time as an arranger and was responsible for the musical arrangement of the 2022 National Day fireworks ceremony.
He has also arranged live performance scores for popular music artists like Lai Ming-wei, Joanna Wang, and Henry Shi. Without further ado, welcome Han-wei to the show. Han-wei, please say hi to our audience and tell us a bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Han-wei Li, and I'm a composer / arranger / clarinetist.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the
Thank
show.
you. Thank you very much.
Very happy to have you here.
Thank you, Marianne. Thank you, Qing-en.
Han-wei, do you mind me asking how old you are?
I'm actually turning 29 this year.
So right now, your life is about music. So I'm curious to find out what your childhood was like. Can you share with us some of your earliest memories of music and how you got into it?
Sure. Actually, I was a singing boy. When I was younger, I would sing like all day long. But I think I always wanted to learn some instruments.
Okay.
I think I have piano classes when I was in kindergarten. That didn't work out, and I haven't been learning anything other than recorders in the school. But my father, he was playing the saxophone at that time. He always wanted me to learn a wind instrument, and I think he wanted me to learn the clarinet because clarinets, like saxophone, are single reed instrument, but they produce different tone. They have different texture, different colors, and I think he always wanted to learn the clarinet.
So your father's dream became your dream.
Yes.
Kind of thing. Okay.
Yes.
So how old were you starting learning clarinet?
When I was 10, I started learning clarinet with a teacher because in a bunch of middle school, there's like a band. But in my community, my middle school has a very famous band which had won like the prizes for years and years. So they needed an audition, which means you have to know how to play music before you get into the band.
So this band would hold auditions, and then based on that, they would decide who would join their band.
Yes.
Okay.
So I started learning clarinet when I was sure about, I'm going to take this audition and I'm going to join the band. But it was 2 years prior to my middle school years.
So basically, in your school, the middle school band was really famous.
Yes.
And it was because you wanted to be part of that band that you decided to learn the clarinet. But even before that, your dad also encouraged you to play the clarinet.
Yes.
And so 2 years prior to joining the band, you started learning the clarinet and you were 10 years old at that time?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So you are a very independent thinker.
But my fondness to the music actually started when I successfully joined the band. Because before you join a band, you always play by yourself, especially for wind instrument.
Yes.
Yeah, you couldn't have any harmonies or any melodies accompanying you because you only play one note at a time.
So it had a different feeling to it.
Yes, it has a very, very different feelings to it. You have different layers, different tones, different texture of sounds. You have different kind of instrument, which means there's endless possibility of combinations, and each combinations produce different sounds.
Does that mean that when you perform different songs, you have to try to imitate or to imagine about the story that's being told by the song itself, so you can have different expression of the instrument?
I would say it was more like a vocabulary or a word bank. You have different sound in your mind, so you can make different tone, you can make different melodies, you can make different colors, which means you have broadened your vocabulary in music.
I think the saxophone and the clarinet is not a very common type of instrument that most parents think of having their child play. Were you exposed to other types of instruments?
Well, actually, no. Yeah, for me, I think the reason I accept clarinet like so quickly, it's more about the connection between a single reed instrument and my family's. So my dad used to play the saxophone, and he used to play so beautiful tunes to me when I was like younger, like 3 years old, 4 years old. He always played those old songs, and I always wanted to learn the single reed instrument because like saxophone, it has its own reed, and I always wonder how reed works.
I'm not a musician. You can tell, right?
Yeah.
So like a single reed instrument, I'm assuming is the place where you blow
Yes.
to make the sound of the music. What is the opposite of that?
So a sound is made by a reed's vibration. So you have single reed, which means that there's only one reed vibrating. You have double reed instrument like bassoon and oboe, where you have two reeds vibrating
Okay.
together. You
Okay.
have a flute, which doesn't have any reed, and it's more like a whistle condition, like more like a
Okay.
recorder. And you have brass instrument,
Like trumpets.
trumpet, trombone, horn, which you vibrate your lips to make sound.
I'm getting
Yeah,
a
it's-
music class right now, and this is cool.
I play trumpet when
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
in
yeah.
high school.
Oh.
So it's like you have to make intense your lips and then try to blow some sound.
Now, this is interesting. I'm discovering new things about Chingan all the time too. Really?
Yeah, it's like ugly sound if you don't, go with your instrument. Like, sorry, I forgot. No,
I see.
I'm not playing it now.
Chingan's already saying no even before I asked him. Chingan, can you play? He's like, no.
Do you know how to
Play a trumpet?
play a trumpet or at least mouth?
No.
How long would you say you've been playing the clarinet now?
2 decades.
20 years. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of
That's a lot of practice.
dedication.
Yeah. So for professional musicians, how long would you say they practice in a day?
I think at least 2 hours a day.
2 hours.
2 hours a day,
That's
at
a
least.
long time.
And 1 hour of that is basic techniques like
Mm.
scales. Scales sounds easy, right? But you have different keys, you have different register, which means that you have to practice in different scales.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're not going to play a melody or a tune or even the harmony. And you have to, I think for wind players, brass instrument and woodwind instrument, you have to have a rather stable airflow.
Mm.
Otherwise,
Right.
you're not going to make a long note. And that takes like at least a quarter of my practice time
Mm.
just to play the
Oh.
long note.
And as we know, you are now still on a full-time job.
Yes.
So do you still practice after work, and how often do you practice?
Wow, that's a hard question. So I still practice, yes, and I couldn't practice in a daily basis, but I can still maintain a like weekly practice of about 7 or 8 hours.
So you must be very disciplined.
It's difficult.
If let's say you're working and you still need to dedicate some time for some other things, yeah, it's not that easy. Backtracking a little bit, how did you meet your clarinet teacher, Chen William Wei Leng?
Wei Leng, he's a clarinetist.
Okay.
Chen Wei-ling. So I met Chen 老师in my high school years. I was introduced by one of my seniors who was his student, and she thought that I would be better if I had a professor or a teacher like him. But I told him that I'm not considering studying music, and he was very happy about that.
Why?
Because, well, he is still the famous clarinetist in Taiwan. He still have a lot of performance, and he had like so many students. Like I attended a rehearsal yesterday. The soloist and also the conductor and some of the players are all his students. He's really someone here.
So basically, you're saying that he's a very well-known teacher, professor, musician in that field that
Yes.
people who are in the industry would definitely know.
Yes.
Right. So why didn't he want you to become a musician then? I'm still waiting on
Yes,
on that.
yes. Because he has taught so many musicians, he had seen so many musicians, he had knew so many musicians. He said that he think I have some potential in other things. And then for him, I think it will always be more interesting if I stay not in music, because he can always have a student who knows other things than music, who can share some view, who can share some aspect with him that are not musically related, but still very interesting for him, I guess. I suppose, because
Okay.
like he's very supportive. When I attended my exam for college, he was very supportive. So it was like I was preparing for the exam, and I think for most of the Taiwanese high schoolers, prepare for a college exam are very, very stressful. And
It is.
yeah, it is, right. Like I didn't had any other interest than music, but I didn't really want to start my classes. So he still took my classes, but he wasn't very strict about my performance. But he guided me in a more musical way, I would say. He would tell me that some of the techniques that I have to overcome, but most of the time he told me that how the music work in this piece, how the emotion flows, how do you have your own interpretation of the music, which is very, very useful. I'm still using so many things which I have learned from him. But yeah, he was very supportive, and he supported my decision not to attend a music school. He cheered for my decision.
He cheered, yeah.
Yeah, he cheered. And I always thought that he's also very proud of me, especially proud of having a student that although doesn't study in music, but still have good music performance and have a music career.
So how long were you under teacher Chen?
I've been his student, or I would say I'm still his student now, but I had taken classes with Chen 老师 for almost 8 years, I think.
Wow, that's a pretty long time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I have my recital in NTU. I think I had 2 recitals in NTU, all of which when I'm still studying with him. He helped me a lot.
We hope that you are enjoying our chat with Li Han-wei so far on how his musical journey started. Unfortunately, we have to cut this conversation short, as that's all the time we have for today.
Please don't forget to join us next week as we discover how Han-wei transitioned from being a clarinetist to becoming a composer and arranger. We also learn more about what it is like to have a career as a composer or arranger here in Taiwan.
Again, this is Qing-en.
And Mary Ann. See you guys next Sunday. Bye.
Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, SoundOn Podcast, Spotify, you name it, we're on it. You can find selected shows produced by RTI's English team on different streaming services. All you have to do is search for the show or type RTI. Find an episode you find interesting, hit play, and you'll learn more about Taiwan and its people.